Welcome back to the show. Today we're diving into a topic you might not expect, historical cartography.
Maps.
Yeah, maps. Those things we use to get from point A to point B. But what if I told you there's so much more than that?
Oh, yeah.
They're like secret codes to understanding history,
Definitely.
power, and even how people saw the world way back when.
Absolutely.
So to guide us on this journey,
Mm-hmm.
we have a fascinating YouTube video from the North American Cartographic Information Society.
NASA's.
for short, with a National Geographic expert and a collection of historical maps.
Cool.
Think of this deep dive as our time machine,
Okay.
ready to transport us back to these pivotal moments in history.
I like it.
So let's jump right in.
Maps and power.
Okay.
I mean, rulers and empires didn't just stumble upon new lands and say, hey, let's draw this.
Right.
They used maps very deliberately
Very much so.
to consolidate their power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take the Cantino Planisphere from 1502.
Uh-huh.
It's one of the earliest maps to show the Americas, and it was made by the Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
But look closer. The way they label things,
Yeah.
the sheer size of the Portuguese territories compared to everything else.
It's all about perspective.
It's a visual power move.
Exactly. It's saying, this is ours. We mapped it. Deal with it.
And you see that throughout history.
Oh, for sure.
Maps being used to justify
Colonialism.
colonialism and dominance.
Yeah.
Take, for instance, the map Africa by Frederick DeWitt from 1680.
Okay.
It's stunning in its detail, but shows Africa as this massive empty space ripe for the taking.
Yeah, just completely disregarding the people who already live there.
It completely disregards existing indigenous boundaries and cultures.
Yeah.
Wow, so even a map that looks objective on the surface can be used to push an agenda.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes you think about how maps throughout history have shaped borders and the geopolitical issues we see today.
100%.
Okay.
And that brings us to another way maps have been used. Propaganda.
Okay, that sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, it can be.
Do you have an example?
Think about wartime propaganda. There's this map called Drang nach Osten from 1939,
Yeah.
used by the Nazi regime to justify their expansion into Eastern Europe. It totally distorts geography, uses loaded symbols,
Oh, wow.
all to drum up public support for their aggressive actions.
It's crazy to think a simple map could have that much power.
Propaganda is a powerful tool.
So we've seen how maps were used for control and manipulation, but what about exploration?
Yeah.
Weren't maps also super important for explorers?
Oh, absolutely. Explorers like Columbus, Magellan, Vasco da Gama, they relied heavily on maps.
Right.
But here's the thing. Some maps from that era were surprisingly accurate,
Really?
even predating European exploration.
Like what?
Well, there's the Piri Reis map from 1513. This Turkish map shows parts of the New World with incredible accuracy. What's fascinating is that it predates a lot of European voyages, leading some to believe they were using older sources, maybe even maps from ancient civilizations.
That is mind-blowing. It really makes you wonder what other knowledge was out there that we've lost to history. But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's get back to the maps themselves.
Okay.
How do they actually make these things? They couldn't have been easy back then.
You're right. Early map making was an incredibly challenging and painstaking process. They relied on observations, estimations, and often had to work with limited information.
So how did they go from these hand-drawn maps to the sophisticated ones we have today?
Right.
Was there some big turning point?
There were several key advancements that revolutionized cartography. The invention of the telescope allowed for more accurate celestial observations, leading to better maps. Then aerial photography changed everything, allowing us to see the world from above. And of course, later on, we had satellite imagery and GPS.
Wow.
These technologies transformed map making from an art to a data-driven science.
And that shift from art to science probably had a big impact on how maps were used.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about claiming land anymore.
Exactly. Maps became more than just tools of empire. They started to be used for things like understanding public health.
Okay.
One of the best examples is John Snow's cholera map from 1854. He meticulously plotted cholera deaths in London, and by doing so revealed a link between the disease and contaminated water sources.
So maps actually helped save lives.
They did.
That's incredible. It shows how they evolved from tools for control to tools for understanding and solving problems.
It's a fascinating transition, and it leads us right into the rise of organizations like National Geographic, who played a huge role in shaping how we see and understand the world through maps. But we'll dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, can't wait to hear more about that. So be sure to join us for part 2, where we'll explore the evolution of map making at National Geographic and the rise of thematic maps. It's going to be a fascinating journey.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of maps.
We really got into it in that last part.
We did.
All those different ways maps have been used throughout history. It's amazing.
It is. And speaking of shaping our understanding of the world, we have to talk about National Geographic.
Oh yeah, their maps are iconic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The NACIS video really dives into National Geographic's role as a pioneer in map making, constantly innovating, pushing the boundaries of how we visualize the planet.
So what made their approach so different? Was it just about the places they mapped?
It was more than that. They had this unique blend of scientific accuracy and artistic flair. Their maps weren't just informative.
Yeah.
They were beautiful, engaging, and accessible to a wide audience.
I remember as a kid being mesmerized by those huge, colorful maps they used to publish.
Oh, yeah.
Especially their relief maps. Those were amazing. They made mountains and valleys seem so real.
Those relief maps were a hallmark of their style. One that comes to mind is their map of Mount Everest.
Oh, wow.
It combined high-resolution satellite imagery with meticulous artistry to depict the world's tallest mountain.
It must have taken forever to make.
It took years to create, and it really showcases their commitment to both accuracy and visual storytelling.
And it wasn't just mountains. They even mapped the ocean floor, revealing this hidden world that most people would never get to see. How did they even do that back then?
Their ocean floor maps were groundbreaking, based on the work of Marie Tharp and Bruce Heezen, who were pioneers in oceanographic cartography. Using sonar data, they created these incredible maps that actually helped us understand plate tectonics and how the Earth's crust moves.
So National Geographic's maps weren't just pretty pictures. They were contributing to real scientific discoveries.
Exactly. Their maps documented expeditions to all corners of the globe, from the Amazon rainforest to the polar ice caps.
It's incredible the scope of what they covered.
Oh, yeah. They even mapped the moon using early photographs from the Apollo missions.
Wow, a map of the moon.
Imagine that, a map of the moon being used by NASA.
That's amazing. They really were at the forefront of exploration and discovery. But they also went beyond just showing physical features, right?
Right.
Didn't they start creating thematic maps that focused on specific topics?
Yes. In the 20th century, they started focusing on thematic maps that could tell stories about global issues, population density migration patterns, even things like the global cocaine trade. These maps helped people see the interconnectedness of the world in a whole new way.
The video mentioned a map that showed how different countries impact the Earth's resources. I bet that was eye-opening.
It was. These thematic maps highlight patterns and trends that you might not see on a traditional map. They encourage us to think critically about the world and consider the global consequences of our actions.
So National Geographic really helped push maps beyond just showing us where things are.
For sure.
They use them to tell stories, raise awareness about important issues, and get people thinking about the world in a different way.
Exactly. Their legacy in map making is undeniable.
Yeah.
They combined scientific rigor with a passion for storytelling, creating maps that were both informative and visually captivating. And that brings us to the modern era of map making, where technology has revolutionized how we create, share, and interact with maps. But before we dive into that, do you have any thoughts on National Geographic's impact?
I think it's amazing how they took something as seemingly simple as a map and turned it into a powerful tool for education, exploration, and even advocacy. It makes me appreciate the maps we have today even more.
Well said. And now let's explore how technology is shaping the future of cartography in part 3 of our deep dive.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. It's been quite a journey exploring the world of maps.
It has.
From ancient maps to National Geographic's incredible work. But now I'm really curious about what's happening with maps today. Like, what are the big trends and innovations?
Well, technology has completely revolutionized map making. I mean, we've gone from hand-drawn maps to digital maps that are constantly updated, interactive, dynamic.
I know I rely on digital maps every day just to get around.
Yeah.
But how are they being used beyond navigation?
Oh, in so many ways. The NACIS video highlighted how organizations like National Geographic are using these digital maps to address some of the most pressing issues of our time.
Like what?
Environmental challenges, social justice, you name it.
Can you give me an example?
One that really stood out was their work on visualizing the global plastic crisis.
Okay.
They created this incredible map that showed the flow of plastic waste into our oceans, highlighting the sheer scale of the problem. It was really powerful.
Wow, so maps can be used for advocacy and raising awareness.
Absolutely. And they're becoming increasingly important for things like citizen science and community engagement.
How so?
Well, people are using maps to collect data, map their local environments, and even hold decision makers accountable.
It's amazing. It's like maps are giving people a voice and empowering them to make a difference.
Yeah.
But what about the future? Where do you see map making going from here?
It's an exciting time for cartography. With advancements in AI and machine learning, we can expect maps to become even more intelligent and insightful.
In what ways?
Imagine maps that can predict natural disasters,
Wow.
optimize resource allocation, or even help us design more sustainable cities. The possibilities are truly endless.
So maps aren't just about showing us where things are anymore.
Right.
They're about helping us understand complex systems, solve problems, and create a better future.
Exactly. Maps have come a long way from their origins as tools of exploration and empire. They've become essential tools for understanding our world and shaping our collective destiny.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the world of maps with you. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for them.
Me too.
And I'm sure our listeners do too. So to everyone out there, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into fascinating topics.
And keep exploring the world of maps.
Thanks for joining us.